Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. I decided that I would let people celebrate Eid for the most part before I said anything. And I'll gladly state to you the following about black folks in Islam, like I told people this time a year ago. At about 11 days, and I was talking to you about this. But a lunar year ago was when I was talking to you all about this. And this was me telling you that there was, in fact, a solidarity that black folks were showing to each other. This solidarity was one in which I was shut out. I was not privy to it. I was not party to it. And I can understand it. And I know that some of you actually would be glad to hear that that was the case. You would say, yeah, but you know what, black, why should you have been included? Like, for what reason should they have included you in this? I mean, that's a sign that we're looking for at this point. Looking to see people that are kind of black be shut out. Especially if you're really super pro-black, to the point that you don't even like to see folks of an admixture be included in meaningful ways. I get it. You'll say, well, yeah, you must be shut out. That's what has to be done in order for things to even out and for things to be fair and just. At some point, you just have to be shut out. I get it. At some point, I don't know how recently this was, there was a pastor in South Africa, specifically in Umlazi, which is in Durban. This pastor has had a congregation. He accepted Islam, and a lot of them accepted with him. And I know that many, especially if you believe that Sarah Garvey is right about Islam, which is a mistake to believe, if you believe that Polite is right, then you are going to say that, you know what, this is not good news, it's bad news, and there's nothing to celebrate. It's a problem, and we're not here for that. Well, I understand the sentiment. Believe me, I do. What I want you to understand is that this man that accepted Islam, this black, I think Zulu, but definitely Nguni man that accepted Islam, did not accept it because of any non-black person coming to him with their cultural baggage and then present it as Islam and then say, listen, you should accept. That didn't happen. What happened in this case was that he had a dream, and the dream happened 3 times. And the 3rd time, the dream sounded differently, because in the dream, he didn't see who was speaking to him, but he could hear someone telling him to wear a particular hat, and it is a hat that they know to belong to the Muslims in Durban. Now, in South Africa, Islam has been presented as an Indian religion and a colored religion, as a semi-black religion. It's not for black folks. It's not for white folks. It's, it's semi. It's like a cop-out, so to speak. Okay, I won't get into the church, but I don't want to be a Negro either. It seems like that to many of the original South Africans. And there are quite a few that are colored that have accepted. What I want you to understand in a nutshell, though, is that when you are actually factoring in and thinking about what you're going to believe and why you're going to believe it, the truth is that no, actually. This is not some anti-black doctrine. It is not an anti-black revelation. And it is presented as such because some folks actually want to drive us away from the worship of one God, let alone the actual revelation that was last revealed by this Lord. Some folks want us to worship ancestors. Do you understand why? The ancestors, by definition, have passed away. They lived, but they had to pass away. They had to be mortals. They had to be just like us, and then become even less effective and less powerful than we are. We have the power to affect changes they cannot because they are dead. It is nothing wrong with them. They're not wrong because they lived and they died. They were supposed to, but they are not gods. They are not divine. And there are many white supremacists who want us to go back to worshiping them just for that reason. Even some of them that are atheists and don't believe that there's any God anywhere. They want us to think that if we need a wind to change direction to help us maintain our freedom, that the ancestors will do it. They want us to believe that if there is a need for someone to be exonerated so as to not go to prison for a crime he didn't commit, but there are enough witnesses to lie and make it seem like he did, that the ancestors will do it. The ancestors are just ancestors. And I never knock anybody for loving them. I love my grandparents. What I'm saying is that there are those who want us to not look to the one that created us at all, and even to view him as an enemy. This gets worse. I wish it wasn't this way, but we know that it is. We know why and how it is this way and how it became this way. In the end, it simply comes down to the fact that, yes, they made their minds up that they were going to take advantage of us, not on the basis of nationality, but on the basis of race and the ability to do it. That's what it came down to. This man that became Muslim was not visited by a non-black human being telling him anything. If you're going to worship the ancestors, know that one of the most potent ways they're going to communicate with you is when you are asleep. And if that is the case, and you get the same dream 3 times, then you're supposed to heed that. That is in all of our beliefs. This man is now performing Hajj in Mecca, and I'm going to tell you that this man is not going to be brainwashed into some idea that he owes it to non-black people to follow them. They can't. They had nothing to do with his guidance. There are many black folks who actually are very race conscious, or they're at least conscious of racial justice and injustice. It's a growing number of them. Usama al-Dhahabi is one of them. Let's see, who's another? Naeem Abdullah is one. Abdullah Hakim Quick. I've mentioned some of these names before. These are the high profile ones. On the ground, there's a growing number. I belong to a group in social media that is like that. I'm telling you now, these guys, you have to understand that this is something that it's a part of Islam actually to be against racial injustice, but now they're coming to realize this, so nobody else is able to come along and say, well, don't divide the ummah and we're all brothers. When black folks start talking about what's fair and just for us, then they turn around and start kissing up to white folk. We're on to that. It's not working. There was a time it did, but it's not anymore. I want you all to realize that this man is not going to go through what people would have put Malcolm X through if he'd been alive. And I don't think it would have worked. I don't think that they're going to put this man through what a lot of African Americans have gone through, and even many Africans, either when they've accepted or when they simply took it seriously. It's not the way this works. You don't get to just walk up to any of us anymore and say, oh, brother, listen, we're going to introduce you to all of these non-black folks. Now, that does happen, but people don't get to come along and then do that and then tell you, listen, we're all the same. We're all Muslim. Everyone's equal. So there's no black and white. No, that's BS. They don't get to do that anymore because we know what the deal is. Now, they can say that we're all equal, and we'll say we're all equal except in piety. But if we're the ones that are not racist and we're surrounded by racists, obviously we're pious, they're not. That means they become less than equal. We're beginning to assert this now. When I was on Hajj, you might think that everybody that wasn't us was against us, but in actuality what I found was that Arabs could have various attitudes towards us. And I have been in Riyadh long enough to learn that there are actually many bronze, non-black Arabs that are all over the spectrum when it comes down to blackness. Some of them are pro-black. Now, they think that that means becoming a rapper. Others of them are pro-black and they don't fully understand what that means in terms of international politics in Africa. And they don't fully, but they're trying to get there. Like they know Malcolm X was a hero. They just don't fully understand the context of Malcolm X. Then they meet us and they start to learn it. There are those who have white supremacist leanings, though not quite the KKK. There are those who want to be us. There are those who think that it means being on some gangster business. There are those who think this, but they don't believe in being aggressive and mean. It's a spectrum. And it is perfectly okay for us to be aware of those who are not allies, who are enemies, who are just too easily brainwashed to side with our opponents. It's okay to be aware of this, but it is also not okay to be so black-anoid that you start saying everyone's the enemy. And then, because they take an effective medicine, but they don't use it correctly, you start to say the medicine itself is the problem. No. In centuries before, people applied the medicine effectively, correctly. They used the topical varieties on the topical wounds. They used the internal varieties for the internal wounds, and they took them internally. And so you could say that holistically it worked because they applied each piece where it was supposed to go. And then there were those who did not. There are those who take everything topically, cosmetically. They don't take the internal parts of it internally. Then they screw up. You can see that the medicine missed something, and that's because they didn't apply the internal parts of the medicine internally. Everything was topical. The topical ointments they applied topically. But the internal medicines, they apply topically because they would say, well, it tastes too chalky. Or they would turn around and mix too much sugar in with the internal parts, which means it's not the same medicine anymore. No, you got to take it as chalky as it tastes. You got to take it. That's how it works. But, okay, we'll see. Then when they do this, we start to think, okay, so the medicine is the problem. As a matter of fact, the medicine was revealed to keep us sick so they could take advantage. That's what we start thinking. I believe that this man from South Africa, this former pastor, was given this message in a dream because it's like being in a situation in which there is healthcare, there's a healthcare system and instructions for it, but because the nurses and the doctors have cheated and slid their way through and they've learned insufficiently, but they've slid their way into the office of being doctors and nurses, a higher authority intervenes and says they are doctors and nurses, but they're not good at it. So we're going to go ahead and give you this information so that you can actually become better doctors and nurses for your health and the ones coming behind you. You will eventually replace these doctors and nurses. This is what we see going on right now. And this time, the replacement, well, it seems that the Lord is replacing our opponents with the children of Israel. See, that's different from being of the religion of Judaism. That's not the same. But since there's more evidence that, in fact, many people in Africa do have DNA from the children of Israel in them, this is coming up in not only language studies, but also in more DNA and haplogroup studies. It is very ironic and coincidental that we are now being brought in to replace the ones that didn't do anything with it before. And that those of us who are already Muslim for multiple generations have actually been unified more so than with even pro-black folks who were so busy preaching against Islam were ever able to achieve. If you wanted to see a level of black awareness and black unity, you should have seen Hajj last year. We were shutting out, to a certain extent, anybody else that was not us and we didn't know them. I know because it happened in my case. Read the instructions on the medicine before you take it. That's the difference. I hope this helps. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out, assalamu alaikum, and black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, and black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. Thank you for flying again on Jet Black Airways with us, where jet black is also a verb. Keep jetting black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Please punch that Cash App button on the way out. If not for me, then for Brother Hayes. Gender justice forever.